This is the last sermon I'm going to preach in this building. This is it. We've been here for a minute or two. We've been here for a while. And I was telling my kids this morning, it's bittersweet, but there's a whole lot more sweet than there is bitter. The bitter is that we leave the memories that happen inside this building, but we're going to take all the people with us. We get to make new memories in a new place, and the memories and the conversations can still happen, but there's a little bit of bittersweet going on because there's this is when this happened, or this is where this happened, and we get to walk away from that today. So it's a little bitter, a lot of sweet. Come this afternoon when we move everything over to the new building, you'll see the sweet. There's a lot of sweet involved. Everything's gonna feel a little bit different next Sunday. The auditorium in our new building is so much larger than what we're looking at right here. The sounds, the smells, the visuals are all going to be so much different next Sunday. I can't wait till next Sunday. Everything's going to be so much different. And make sure you let everybody know where we're located, please. If you've invited people to come to church, next Sunday they might say, okay, I want to check that out. Go back to those people and let them know where we're located. We don't want people showing up here every week wondering what happened to Renew. It used to be such a lively church, and now it's so dead. It's so dead. There's not a lot happening. They don't even unlock the doors for the people anymore. It's just a dead church now. We don't want that. We want people to know where things are going on. Wouldn't it be weird if we saw people show up here every week to go to church and wonder why our church is so lifeless? Wouldn't that be an odd thing to see? You see a line at the door. Finally, all the people we've invited come to church, and they're all standing outside the door like, I come here every week, and nothing really is happening here. They don't even unlock the door. I've got to go to the bathroom. I can't get to the bathroom. This is not a very friendly church. That would be, I know that sounds ridiculous, but that would be an odd thing to see if that really did happen. All the life is happening over there. It's a new scenario. All the life is happening over there, but they keep showing up here. That would be an odd thing to see. It might sound absurd, but it really, really works well with what I want to say today. So that you might think, why is he saying that? Because it's a dumb illustration, but it works with what I want to say, so I'm going to use it, and you're just going to have to listen. So I'm going to use that illustration. If they kept showing up at these doors, when all the life is happening in the other building, the music's happening over there, the laughter is happening over there, the fellowship, the friendships are growing stronger in that building, and they keep showing up at this building wondering what's happening, that would be something that would strike us as odd. I want to talk about a place where all the life is happening, but people keep insisting on going back to the old location to find it. Let's go back to the old one. That's where I'm used to the life happening, so I'm going to keep showing up there. In the book of Matthew, Jesus gives us a parable which illustrates this really well. And this illustration goes so much deeper than it seems. I've used this illustration, I've taught on this illustration before, but I want to take it in a slightly different direction today. It goes so deep. So look with me in Matthew chapter 18, starting in verse 23. Therefore the kingdom of heaven is like a certain king who wanted to settle accounts with his servants. And when he had begun to settle accounts, one was brought to him who owed him 10,000 talents, and he was not able to pay. His master commanded when he was not able to pay, his master commanded that he be sold with his wife and children and all that he had, and that the payment be made. The day of consequences finally arrives for this guy. He owes 10,000 talents. And the master finally comes up and says, hey, it's the day of reckoning is here. This is the consequences. This is everything's here. The king wants to settle all the accounts with his servants. He just wants to know that the debts are paid and everybody's in good standing. He's coming to collect what is owed. And the first guy that's brought to him has a little bitty dilemma. He has a small dilemma here. He can't even come close to paying off his debt. The king says, okay, I want you to pay me what's owed. I've given you, I've blessed you, I've given of myself to you, and now I'm requiring that you give back to me what I've given to you. It's time to pay the debt. And this guy has a problem. He can't pay the debt. It says that he owes 10,000 talents. Now, if this is 10,000 talents of silver, I did a little bit of research here because I thought that would be fun. So 10,000 talents. If it's 10,000 talents of silver, he would have only owed around 4.5 million. Let's put it in our language here, and okay, that's a little bit high. That's all he owes. 4.5 million if it's talents of silver. But if it's 10,000 talents of gold, he would need to pay around 67.5 million. Either way you look at it, this guy's got himself in a little bit of a bind. The king says, okay, it's time to pay. Hopefully it's silver. But even if it is silver, it might as well be gold. I mean, if I came up to you and said, hey, I need you to give me 4.5 million today, I might as well just say, give me 67.5 million, because I'm not going to get either one of them. It's the same problem. It doesn't matter which amount I give you, you've got a problem that you cannot solve. There's no way I can pay this back. So the king figures out a way to work things out here. He decides to have the man and his wife and his children sold into slavery until the debt is paid off. That's a great scenario. You can't pay the debt? That's all right. You'll work off the debt. I will sell you and your wife and your children into slavery. Now, this answer is as personal as it could possibly be. This scenario hits a personal note. This is his family that he's about to lose. Put yourself in this guy's scenario. Okay, the king comes up to you and says, hey, you owe all those talents back. Give them back to me. I can't. All right, then let's trade that problem for a different one. Say goodbye to your family. Say goodbye to your family, because I have to sell them so they can all work off the debt that you owe. I'd rather have the first problem than the second problem, and the truth is this guy would too. No, please don't take my wife and kids. So the man does the only thing that he can do at this point. Here's the scenario. The king gives the scenario. You lose everybody. Say goodbye to your family. So the servant does the only thing he can do. Look at verse 26. So the servant therefore fell down before him, saying, Master, have patience with me, and I will pay you all. He tells the king, just give me a little bit more time. Please just give me some more time. Oh, do you have 4.5 million? No. How about 67.5 million? Still no. Can I have a little bit more time? Please give me a little bit more time. I will pay off the debt. Just please don't take my wife and kids. Please don't do this. And both of these men know the truth. The king knows the truth and the servant knows the truth. There is no way this guy will ever make this up. You can't, you will never pay this debt off. You can't. We both know this. You will never be able to pay this debt off. So looking at the man's situation, the king does what nobody would have expected. Look at verse 27. Then the master of the servant was moved with compassion, released him, and forgave him the debt. In 1 minute, this guy was under a burden that he could do nothing to make right. There's no way I can pay this off. I owe way too much, and now I'm about to lose my wife and my kids. The weight of the world is on my shoulder, and I'm just asking you, just give me a little bit more time. Please don't take them. Just give me a little bit more time. The weight of the world is on this guy's shoulders, and the next minute he's experiencing 100% freedom. In 1 minute, he's afraid of losing everything, and the next minute, you're free. What a roller coaster of emotions that would be. That would be a rough, talk about bittersweet. There's a lot of sweet, whole lot of bitter, but a lot more sweet. That would be a rough day right there. But then when the king says, how about this? Do you have nothing? That's all I have. Give me that. Give me that and you're good to go. That's some good news. That's some really good news. He thinks he's about to lose his family, so he begs for more time. He says, give me time to figure something out. Please give me a little bit more time. And then the king says, get out of here. You owe me nothing. You owe me nothing. This is where we have to stop and think about what's really happening here in this story. Does the man owe the king? Yes. Yeah, he really does. He owes the king. The king has clearly given up something of his own. Otherwise, there wouldn't have been a debt in the first place. So the king has given up either 4.5 million or 67.5 million to this guy. This guy owes the king. The king's without. He has lost something. He gave it to this guy, and now he's telling this guy, hey, we've got a problem here. And then he brings the solution of debt-free. The king is out something. So if he chooses to forgive this man of the debt, he will have to relinquish the hope of ever getting reimbursed for the loss. That's what's going to happen. That's the only scenario here. If he forgives the man of the debt, you're never getting a dime of that back. And that was a huge amount that you gave this man. You're going to have to relinquish all hope of ever getting reimbursed. He's just going to have to walk away, leaving it all behind. And that's what he does. That's what he does. And this man gets his life back, just handed to him. How about this? Go enjoy your wife and your kids. Go enjoy your life. Just enjoy. You're debt free. That's an incredible gift. His wife and his kids are safe, and he's now living in freedom. But this is where the whole story takes a really rough turn. If you know the parable, you're familiar with what happens next here. If you've never heard the parable, stay with me. It really gets awesome here. This guy has been set free. He gets to keep his family. He gets to keep his wife, his kids, his whatever money he does have, he gets to hang on to it. He's free. Then look what happens. Verse 28. But that servant went out and found one of his fellow servants who owed him 100 denarii. And he laid hands on him and took him by the throat, saying, "Pay me what you owe." That is a quick turn. That's a quick turn. As this man is leaving the presence of the king, he runs into a man that owes him the equivalent of 16 bucks. That's what we're looking at here, okay? That guy owes me 16 bucks. He's leaving the king. Hey, you're free. You're free. You don't owe me 4.5. You don't owe me 67.5 million. You're free. The guy is leaving with joy, and he sees a guy and goes, hey, that guy owes me 16 bucks. And he takes the guy by his throat. That's a fun detail. He grabs the guy by his throat and he says, pay me what you owe. To receive the money back from this guy would feel different than it would have felt before. Really different. Now if he gets 16 bucks back, if you do give me 16 bucks, this 16 bucks is going to feel different than it felt before. Because this time, when you give me my $16, I don't have to give that to the king. I get to keep that because I owe the king nothing. So now this $16 is going to feel a little bit different. I don't have to pay off a debt with it. I get to put it in my pocket. I'm ahead if you give me my 16 bucks. Finally, the power is in this guy's corner. I'm actually able to move ahead now. I'm not stuck behind. I can move ahead here. So he grabs the man by his throat and insists that he pays him immediately. Give me my 16 bucks. This is where the scenario seems very familiar. Look at the next verse, verse 29. So his fellow servant fell down at his feet and begged him, saying, have patience with me, and I will pay you all. Ever heard that before? Just be patient with me. Give me a little bit more time. I'll pay you the 16 bucks. I'll pay it back. And now the first man is in the position where he can reflect the kindness of the king. Now, see, your whole scenario's changed, sir. You remember what the king just did for you? Yeah, felt good. You have an opportunity to reflect that kindness to this guy that owes you $16. He completely understood how it felt to be in a debt that you could not pay. He's looking into the eyes of a man that's standing where he was just a short time ago. And it may only be 16 bucks, but if you don't have it, you don't have it. It's like if I said, give me 4.5 million, I might as well ask for 67.5 because you don't have either one. You don't have either one. For this man, if you don't have $16, you might as well ask him for 67.5 million. I still don't have it. I still don't have it. The man begs him, Please be patient with me. Give me a little more time. I'll figure this out. I'll get you your 16 bucks. I'll get it back to you. He just wants a little bit more time to find a way to get the money. But the outcome of this conversation goes completely in the opposite direction than the first conversation went. He was just asked if he could offer him a little bit more. Can I have a little bit of grace? Just give me a little bit of grace, please. And look at the man's response. Verse 30. And he would not, but went and threw him into prison till he should pay the debt. 16 bucks. He threw a person into prison over 16 bucks. I want to look at this scenario from a different angle. This guy was going to be out anywhere from 4.5 million to 67 million for the remainder of his life. That was his reality. For the rest of my life, I'm going to have to pay off millions. So I'm already out that money for the remainder of my life. Now, if he would just offer the same kindness that he was offered from the king, he would only be out 16 bucks. That's all he'd be out. I was going to be out millions, but now if I just forgive this guy, if I just offer this guy forgiveness, I'll be out 16 bucks, but I still don't have any debt. This is a better scenario. This is good. But the scenario gets even darker. He was being watched the entire time. A lot of times people look over this little detail of the parable, but this guy's being watched the entire time. There weren't just two men present for this conversation here. These men had companions that lived side by side with them all the time. These companions were servants of the king also. There were other servants watching. This one man's actions affected the man who owed him money. And then the domino effect begins. Yeah, you ruined this guy's life. You threw him into prison for 16 bucks. But other people saw this. Other people were watching this. Look at verse 31. So when his fellow servants saw what had been done, they were very grieved and came and told their master all that had been done. Word got out and hearts became heavy. They were very grieved. These men were crushed to watch their fellow servant treat this man this way. They're broken. His fellow servants began to carry the burden of watching how grace was being withheld from somebody who desperately needed it. Man, that guy just needed a little bit more time to find 16 bucks. And you wouldn't give it to him. And yeah, it's only $16 worth of grace, but that $16 was worth so much to a man that couldn't pay that off. Boy, that would have been a lot of grace for him. It's only $16 worth of grace. If you miss out on that, no big deal. It's prison or 16 bucks. That $16 worth of grace would have been a lot of grace. I'm just looking for a little bit of grace here. Can I get some grace? And when the other servants saw how this guy was being treated, they ran to the one person that needed to know. They went to the master. All these servants went right to the master. Now, we don't know whether or not these servants even had a clue about what the master did for this first guy. We don't know. They might have known that he freed that guy of his debt, but they might not know that at all. But they knew that the servant's actions were wrong. What you just did to that other guy was dead wrong. So they go ahead and go to the master and they deliver the report to him. And the master calls for the man to come to him. Yeah, we got a problem. Who did it? His name was whatever his name was. I just cleared that guy millions of dollars of debt. I just freed him. What did he do? He grabbed a guy by his throat and said, "Give me my 16 bucks." And the guy couldn't do it, so he threw him into prison. Yeah, bring him here. I want to talk to that guy. Look at verse 32. Then his master, after he had called him, said to him, "You wicked servant, I forgave you all that debt because you begged me. Should you not also have had compassion on your fellow servant, just as I had pity on you?" This servant was just rescued from a prison of debt without parole. There's no way you're ever going to pay it off. And his family was spared from a lifetime of slavery. His worries about his future were wiped away in one moment's time. And then he felt that he was being done wrong because he was out $16 that somebody else owed him. I don't know if you're not liking this guy, but I'm not liking this guy. No, I don't feel so good. I don't like that guy. We're not friends. No, I just unfriended that guy. I'm not getting along with you at all. You dirty rat. You were spared from slavery and debt, and then you grabbed the guy by his throat and threw him into prison because he owed you $16? We're not talking anymore. I don't like this character. He held the debt over his debtor, and he was willing to imprison him until he made things right, over $16. That's when the master allowed this man's decisions to catch up to him. Look at verse 34. And his master was angry and delivered him to the torturers until he should pay all that was due to him. After receiving a mind-blowing portion of grace, and seriously, that would be mind-blowing. You owe me $67.5 million and now you owe me nothing. That's incredible. This guy chooses to live in a way that put him back in a life of burden. You were freed from all the burden, and then you went ahead and lived in a way that put all the burden back on you. Why would you do that? Why would you go back? Now he's going to carry depression, and he's going to carry guilt. Now he's going to feel like he's not enough. Can he ever pay off the debt? Still no. But you put yourself right under the burden that you were freed from. Why would you go back? Why would you go back to that? Now his friendships have been altered. Anybody want to hang out with this guy? Still, in 2021, all these years later, nobody likes this guy. Look at that. Friendships have been altered. Nobody wants to be with you anymore. You're going to be depressed. You're going to live a life of regret. You keep holding on to a debt that you were freed from. Why would you go back to that? All he had to do was offer the same kind of grace that was offered to him on a much lower scale. But he just offered that same kind of grace. That's all you had to do. But he chose to go back to a life of debt to find satisfaction. That's what he chose to do. It might not have been his debt, but he was definitely trying to find fulfillment in getting what he thought he had coming. You owe me, and I want what I have coming. And he traded his sense of entitlement for a life of unhappiness. I want to talk to you about what the church and the Christian life is supposed to look like. We're about to move things over to our new building this afternoon. If you ever want to know when that day was, all our sermons are online so you can check it out. It was today. We did it today, later on today. But when you watch the video, it was in the past. We're about to move everything over to our new building. That building will be a lighthouse for people who are in a sea of brokenness to find hope. That is what that building will be. And it does light up. There's a sign on the side of the building that says Renew Church. Go by at nighttime and look over there. It's big, it's bright, it's green. You can see it. There's also a light on the other side just in case you're going by on the other road. But it will be a lighthouse for people to come and find hope. But the building itself will offer nothing but a location. That is all that will be. It's only going to be a location. It's what they find within the church that's going to make the difference. That's where you're going to find the hope. It's not the building. Praise God for the building. But it's what you find inside that building that's going to bring them hope. What if a person walks in to the building and they're a smoker? Oh no, not that. What if somebody walks into the building and they are addicted to cigarettes? They're smoking. Do we look at them and go, man, you dirty, rotten sinner? Have you ever been to a church where that's how it felt? I have. Not that I was smoking, but I've seen it. I've seen it happen. So they're smoking out in the parking lot, like, hey, that guy's smoking out in the parking lot. They go to the pastor, hey, so-and-so's smoking out in the parking lot. Like, all right. Like, that's the pastor's problem. You know, everything's the pastor's problem. You know, could you go out there? The first amen of the sermon right there. We need to edit this. Everything's the pastor's problem. Hey, so-and-so's smoking in the parking lot. What would you like me to do? Make them stop. Yeah, let's do that now. Let's go ahead. Yeah, let's take this to the parking lot. Smoking in the parking lot. So, what if they do? What if they are smoking? What if it's a person that struggles with alcohol? That's a struggle in their life. That's a real struggle that they're going through. And honestly, people don't choose the struggle. They choose the alcohol. The struggle comes after that. There's a lot of people who would like to walk away from that, but it's got a hold of them, and it's holding on to them hard. What if the person is struggling with alcohol? What if they're just a person that treats other people poorly? What if it's just a guy with a bad attitude? And he's always got a bad attitude. That's just that guy. And run to the pastor. Hey, fix his attitude. He doesn't like me. He don't like anybody. He's got a bad attitude. What do you do about the people that show up like that? Is there enough grace in our life to extend to those people? Do we have enough grace that if they are struggling with something, that we can show them love and kindness and grace in spite of their struggle? In spite of their struggle. When they walk into that building, the light doesn't come from the building. It comes from within the building. It comes from the church. That will change their life. It's not the building that'll change their life. It's the people who are reflecting the light from God. That's what's going to change people. That's what's going to make a difference. So if they do walk in and they don't quite meet our standard or your personal standard, do you have enough grace? What if they say a word you don't like? Throw that one away. They said a dirty word. It's still a person. It's still a person that God loves. Do you have enough grace? Man, they did me wrong. My poor, precious, pure, holy ears heard a dirty word. You owe me $16. There is a debt that I will place on your shoulders. You did me wrong. I don't think we can be friends. I can't love you. Do we have enough grace to cover that? Do we have enough grace when somebody walks into our building? Do we have enough grace to show them, even though they might not hit our personal standard, they might not meet our personal standard, do we have enough grace? This past week, someone reached out to us who was attending our service for quite a while. And there were some unforeseen circumstances that happened in their life. And because of these things, they haven't been coming to our church. It's not that they don't like our church or anything happened in the church that they disliked. There's just a lot of things that happened in their life, and it's kept them from coming to church. We contacted them and talked to them this week, and they said they really wanted to come back to church, but they feared whether or not they would be welcome because they've been away so long. This is what religion does to people. They've experienced this feeling in other churches, and they didn't want to come and feel that again. So yeah, we really want to come back, but we don't really, will we be accepted? Will we be loved? Will it be okay? And that's when we explained, you need to check this out. We're not looking at you saying, where have you been all this time? We're looking at you saying, it's good to have you back. It's good to have you back. You're not judged for whatever you were going through in your life or wherever you've been or what. It's good to have you back. It's good to see you again. That's the difference. Religion destroys people. This is the behavior people associate with church. Man, so-and-so saw me smoking. I can't go to church this week. They caught me smoking. What if they judge me? Come on back. And honestly, I don't smoke. I don't want to be around smoke. But if you need a cigarette, would you smoke it outside? Would you go ahead and take care of it outside? And I'll be praying for you as you're trying to get rid of this problem that you have. I'm praying for you. I got your back right now. But if you need that, just if you would do me a favor and go smoke it outside. Shouldn't I be saying, thou shalt not smoke? The Lord will smite you if you smoke. That's the feeling people get from churches. And all I ask is if you could just go outside. I'll see you when you get back in here. See you in a minute. I'm not going to judge you because you're going through a struggle. I'm not going to look down on you because you're going, I have enough grace. I've been given enough grace that I can extend it out to somebody else. No problem. Religion places a burden and shame on people's shoulders. That's what religion does. I'm not religious. Pastor a church, but I'm not religious. I don't know. Can you pastor a church and not be religious? Check it out. You can. I'm not religious, but I am all about this relationship. I love my relationship with God. I'm going to let you all in on a little bitty secret here. Everybody just listen up. You're here when it's happening now. I'm letting you in on the secret right now. Our church is full of people who are still a work in progress. All of us. You might not know that about yourself, but word's out. We're all a work in progress. Every single one of us, we are all growing, we are all learning. None of us have arrived. Not one of us have arrived. God has given us so much grace, and He erased a debt we would never be able to pay on our own. We could never, ever pay our way out of our sin debt. There was nothing we could do. The people of our city need to know that our church is full of people who are still under construction. There's still work being done here. I got a new heart and a new spirit. That one's good to go. God gave me a new spirit, a new heart. But I got this going on here, and it's my mind, and it hasn't caught up with my heart and my spirit yet. I'm a work in progress. Pray for me, I'll pray for you. We need to grow, we need to learn, we need to develop. None of us have arrived. Satan loves to get us focused on people and how they've done us wrong. Oh, look, guy owes you $16. Oh, that's right, he owes me $16. He loves to get our focus on that. He loves for it to go that way. And when this happens, we begin to show a lot less grace. We show a lot less grace. I'm going to risk making people unhappy with this next statement, but I'm going to go ahead and say it anyway. Half of me is protected. Headshot might hurt, but I'm going to say it anyway. To demand that you get grace and everyone else does not is self-righteous. Thank God for all the grace He gave me, and then you won't give a little bit of grace to somebody else. You are self-righteous. You are arrogant and selfish in that area of your life. They need grace. You've been given so much grace, and you don't have a little bit to offer somebody else? You are self-righteous. What right do any of us have to hold anything over somebody else's head? We don't have the right. Haven't we been given an immeasurable amount of grace ourselves? Haven't we been given so much? Look at what God says we're supposed to do now. Colossians chapter 3 and verse 12. Therefore, as the elect of God, holy and beloved, put on tender mercies, kindness, humility, meekness, long-suffering. Today I feel like it's time to call the church to holiness. It's time to be holy. And calling people to holiness is right. It is right. It's not always appreciated, but it's right. Be holy. Be holy. God has given Renew Church so much. He's given us so much. We're enjoying a day right now where we're about to open up another door of so much blessing that God gave us. God has given us so much. We've been over-blessed. It's time to bless God back. It's time to bless God back. It's time to reach the people that He loved and died for. It's time to make that a priority in our life, not whatever we're working on the side. It's time to focus on what God is focused on. And it's time to love the people that he died for. It's time to treat other Christians the way Christ treated us. It's time to treat people the way God loved us. And you can check your own account and see how it looks. Are you depleted of any funds in that? You got plenty of grace to go around. Have you been offering it out to anybody? Anybody at all? We have to check our own lives. It's time for us to love people the way Christ loved us. To look down on some other Christian because they're not living up to your standard is wrong. And by the way, it doesn't only happen to people outside the church. It happens within the churches too. We look at each other and we look down on each other. That person, man, they let me down. Okay? We're not friends anymore. Within the church. Within the church. Here's another secret I'm going to let you in on. You don't know the whole backstory. You don't know everybody's backstory. You don't know what they're going through right now. You don't know what they're struggling with. We don't always know the battles people are facing in their own minds. Man, you had time to help me and you weren't there to help me. Where were you? I found out you were just sitting at home doing nothing, and you could have been there for me. You could have helped me, and you weren't there. You know what you didn't know? That person was dealing with a huge amount of depression at that moment. Their life was crushed. Something happened to them, and they were carrying the weight of the world on their shoulders at that moment. And they didn't want to be around anybody else because they didn't want to break down in front of somebody else and ruin their day. And instead, we're mad because they didn't show up for us. We don't always know the backstory. We don't know the backstory. Grace is always offered to the undeserving. Every single time. It's always offered to the undeserving. Forgiveness is always given to the offender. The one who doesn't deserve forgiveness, that's the one who gets forgiveness, or should be getting forgiveness. We don't forgive people who have never done us wrong. You know you've never done that? Never once. Hey, I forgive you. What do I do? Absolutely nothing. It doesn't happen. We don't offer forgiveness to people who have not done us wrong. It always goes to the offender. It always goes to the offender. Grace and forgiveness are always given to the undeserved. Always. God wants you to imitate what he's done for you. Look at 1 Peter chapter 1 and verse 15. But as he who called you is holy, you also be holy in all your conduct. This is not a question. Look at that. There's no question mark. This is not a question. God doesn't say, would you please be holy in all your conduct? He didn't ask us a question. He says, in all your conduct, in all your behavior, be holy. Be holy. People are drowning in a world where godly character is absent. People need to see godly character. When someone isn't living up to your standards, put on tender mercies and kindness and humility and meekness and loving kindness. Man, that person's not meeting my standards. They're not doing what I think they should do. How about show them tender mercy? How about some kindness, some long suffering, some patience? Give them some time. Give them some time. When someone has done you wrong, pour out that same kind of grace that God gave you when you did him wrong. Offer that to them. Go ahead and offer that. When someone could use your help, show up for them. Show up for them. Because there's a lot of things people are carrying out there, and they're spending a lot of time being judged. Maybe they need some time being helped. Hey, I'm here for you. You don't understand. Then help me understand. Help me understand. You'll just judge me. That's not what I'm here for. I want to show you tender mercies. I want to show you loving kindness and long suffering. And I want to show you grace. Yeah, but don't I owe you something? Haven't I done you wrong in the past? Oh, and by the way, your debt's cleared. Go live in freedom. You owe me nothing. You owe me nothing. Here's some grace. In all your conduct, show grace. Show sacrificial love. Show forgiveness and kindness. Show Christ. Show Christ. The church isn't supposed to be standing on the shore calling out to people who are drowning in a sea of brokenness. That's not our job. We're not just supposed to be calling out to them. We're supposed to be in the sea with them, showing them how Christ made all the difference in our lives. Get in the water. Go ahead and get in the water. Get out there and show them the difference. The day you got saved because of one thing. The third secret. You got saved because of one thing. You saw the love of Christ. That is what brought you to salvation. You saw the love of Christ. That's what brought you to repentance. You saw a love that compelled you to enter into a relationship with God. And anybody in here who's saved, I could ask you to raise your hands. I'm not going to do that, but I could ask you to raise your hands. Who got saved because they recognized the love of Christ, and that's what brought you into a relationship with God? 100%. 100%. I saw the love of Christ. That's what worked. That's what compelled you to come in. So let's go back to that master-servant picture one more time and look at what God asks us to do. Luke chapter 14 and verse 23. Then the master said to the servant, "Go out into the highways and hedges and compel them to come in, that my house may be filled." Mercy, love, grace, forgiveness, compassion, humility, that compels people to come to God. When you start seeing God's character shine through somebody else's life, you say, hey, I want that relationship too. Because I'm not getting that out here. What is that all about? I want to come in. I want to come in. Show Christ. Show Christ. We cannot keep going back to the old way of thinking and expect to enjoy an abundant life in Christ. That one's closed. Those doors aren't going to be unlocked. Don't keep showing up there and expecting to enjoy life to happen there. Move on. Move on. It would be like coming to this building every week trying to enjoy the life that's happening in the new building. Why would we keep coming here? By the way, don't come back. Go there. Now, the only thing some people are going to take from the sermon is, our pastor told us never come back. Don't come back. Don't come back. Go over there. Meet us over there next Sunday. Meet us over there. That's where the life is happening. That's where the life's going to be happening. It's time to renew our minds. That's what we've got to do. Renew. Renew. It's still all about that. We're works in progress. We're still under construction. We need to keep renewing our minds. We need to show grace. It's time to be holy in all of our conduct. It's time to show Christ.